Welcome to the Apologetics series with the Jim of Ikayo. And you might be wondering, what then is apologetics? But before we proceed, if you're new here, I'd like you to like, follow, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. It's not going to kill you. Just click the subscribe button and turn on your notifications because it's about to go down. Yeah, so you might have been at church or any religious organization that's connected to the Christian faith, and you must have heard your pastor give or your spiritual leader give a concept that you found hard to believe or you found it hard to comprehend, understand. So, what the Apologetics series seeks to do is that it aims to take that concept and bring it into fore and help you understand it in a better way. So, right about now, we'll be going into the definition. What then is apologetics? Apologetics is taken from the Greek word apologia, means a detailed argument or a detailed defense about a particular subject matter. In this regard, we're looking at the Christian faith. Note the definition of terms that it's not just a detailed explanation, it's a detailed defense. So it means that before there is a defense, that there is an attack. There's this quote I'm going to be using a whole lot through the course of my video, and it is that the presence of spirituality doesn't always indicate the absence of intelligence, because a whole chunk of people nowadays aim and seek to make their minds absent when engaging spiritual truths. The gospel is not understood by members of this world, not because they are not intelligent, but because the God of this world has blinded their eyes. That's a topic for another day. But it's important that we understand what apologetics is as believers who seek to spread the reign of Christ all throughout the earth. Yeah. So 1 Peter 3 verse 15 would be our anchor scripture. And it says that, but in your heart, revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and meekness. This is the core truth that will be guiding us all throughout our convo, throughout the course of this video. Apologetics seeks to define the how and the why, the basis of your faith. Apologetics seeks to help you understand why you do certain kind of stuff, not just because your pastor said it, your parents said it. Apologetics helps you question the right way. So that's what apologetics seeks to help you do and seeks to help you become. Because a whole lot of people just tend to receive certain kind of truth, and at the end of the day they are stagnant. Not because what they received was not authentic or it was not the truth, but because they don't have a working understanding of what it is. You see certain concepts such as praying in tongues, the concept of why you need to be saved and all that. A whole lot of people are making such kind of decisions even by faith, but down the line when they experience trials and storms, they don't just have the stamina, let me use the word stamina, to continually proceed in what they have received, not because the truth is absent, but because they don't have an understanding. So an apologetic is a person who is able to give a detailed response of their faith. But apologetics is the concept. Are we together here? I feel like a school teacher. So what then was my introduction to apologetics? I believe the first for me was my background. As a person, I would consider myself to have a somewhat religious background rooted in the Christian faith. It was that kind of environment that would help you question not just why you were doing things, but also understand the working dynamics behind it and all. Specifically, my uncle Toye, very sound believer, he would ask me unraveling questions on why I did what I did. help me question some certain kind of stuff positively. That's the emphasis there. To the end, I was going to get to that point where I understood it, and I didn't just understand it, but I was able to communicate it. You see, that's what apologetics is about. That you step into something, but you now have the understanding to communicate it effectively. Yes, that is the basis behind apologetics. Then a Facebook post I saw about believers being shallow, about them swallowing things hook, line, and sinker, and not having a working knowledge on why they did several kind of stuff. When I saw that post about 2, 3 years ago, it began to bring up something in my heart, and I began to wonder, like, I feel that I could teach on basic concepts that people generally found hard. And First Peter 3 verse 15, that scripture that was saying that ensure that you are able to give a response every single time you are asked about why you believe what you believe. That's what the scripture said. Then what then is not apologetics? Apologetics is not winning argument, because I know a whole lot of people, when they get the concept, they believe that it's just about winning arguments. It's not about winning arguments. We are called to win souls, not to win arguments. So apologetics is not to prove the point. Apologetics is just to state the truth. Apologetics is not looking intellectually impressive. Sorry, I had to do that. Not looking intellectually impressive. So probably you tend to max the gospel to something that appeals to the human's intelligence. As much as we do that, but then we also need to understand that it is not to quote the truth, it is to present it as it is. Because sometimes it is even the foolish things that actually make sense in the sight of God. Um, yes, apologetics is not having an absolute answer to everything. We are humans, and the extent and depth of our knowledge is not far and all reaching. It's only God that has all knowledge, and it is safe for even mature believers to say that they do not have an answer to something. So apologetics does not support the statement and the fact that you have an answer to everything. It's okay for you to still be on the journey to discovery, because I believe even in heaven we'll still be discovering new concepts and new definitions of who God is. God is never ending and is the source of all wisdom. Yes, so that's what apologetics is not. And you would ask me, what then is the importance of apologetics? Why is it important? Why do I need to be an apologetic? Why do I need to have a proper definition and detailed information about my faith? To establish truth. It is very important to establish truth. Scripture was saying in the book of Daniel that in the last days a whole lot of knowledge is going to be spreading around. People are going to be knowledgeable. So there's a whole lot of information spreading around, and a whole chunk of them are false. People are saying a whole lot of things. Check new videos, new information, new school of thoughts, new religions. But then you would now ask, what then is the truth? So apologetics seeks to establish that truth, strengthen believers, because when you are convinced about your faith, you have strength and resolve to continually pursue that path you're already undertaking. To debunk intellectual claims. You see, intellect does not respect the infallibility of any statement. Intellect is just smartness. So the lie can sound smart, the truth can also sound smart. So what apologetics seeks to empower the believer to do is that it seeks you to be able to debunk intellectual claims and statements by people who have a contrary view to what you perceive. At the end of the video, I'll be dropping a few set of people who are apologetics that you can follow and probably gauge on their content and all that. So That's what in apologetics helps you to. So it's very important because a whole lot of people are saying statements against our faith, and it's sounding very smart because at face value it seems that this is the truth, that these guys know what they are saying, or rather it's just a lie. Then how do you answer an objection? This is just a little piece. How do you answer an objection? First of all, you listen carefully, uninterrupted, while not in a haste to answer questions. You just listen. Then you clarify, what do you mean by this statement? What do you intend to say by this statement? And the next is that you analyze the statement bit by bit. You rip it apart to find out the core. It's more of like you take a piece of mango and you are cutting that mango in half to see the seed. Then from the seed, the outer layer, the shelly layer, you move into the softer layer to find out the true essence of what that question means. Then you take our time to answer. You answer the question according to the basis that the scriptures allows you to go to. That is how to answer a question regarding your faith. Then finally, you must connect it to the source, because the basis of apologetics is that we are able to represent Christ in every area. So the reason why we are sound and we are intellectually stable to defend the gospel is so that we are empowered to the extent that we are able to represent Christ. Because we're going out into the world, we're meeting all sorts of people who are well revised in their religions. And what then do we bring to the table? Aside from the power of God and aside from God's glory, we can also come with intellect on why we believe what we believe. Then we connect it back to the source, that is Christ. What's the character of an apologist? That's what I call myself, an apologetic or an apologist. Is that the person must be humble. You must be humble. So someone that is not full of themselves, someone that is courageous. It takes courage to stand against an opinion that is contrary to what you believe in without sounding prejudiced or without sounding full of hate or something. Yes, Christianity is about love, and the fact that we're arguing doesn't mean that we are fighting. Yes, so it takes courage. There's a kind of courage that comes with bringing out the faith. Gentleness. You must be gentle in giving your response, and meekness. Yeah, you must be meek. You must be calm. You must be collected, so that you don't sound fidgety when you're giving your response and you just say, oh, this one doesn't even understand what he's saying. All right, then that's the end, and we bring you to a wrap here. So before we go, I'd just like to say a prayer for you.